just very, very briefly, I was just talking with somebody last week, and somebody was saying, you know, players haven't played the game for 18 months, and is it possible that they're taking some of their sort of issues out on match officials? That's a question, an open question. I'm not too sure about that. But if you actually look at the sort of the environment that match officials now operate in, especially grassroots, and Stuart talked about talked about communication. He talked about communication with fellow referees. I'd just like to maybe just explore the whole issue of communicating with the teams and the officials whenever you arrive at a ground, because in the good old bad old days, you would have arrived at a ground an hour before, you would have had your own changing room, you would have walked onto a field of play, you would have been in a referee uniform, and now, because of COVID, changing rooms more often than not are not open. You're arriving in a tracksuit. You really don't have much opportunity to engage with players and officials from the two teams. And I just wonder, again, I'm no great scientist on these things, but I'm just wondering, is there a question around that perhaps as a result of COVID-19, the sort of almost like the visible stroke invisible of authority of a referee has been undermined or diluted as a result of it? You know, for instance, in my days as a grassroots referee, shirt, tie, blazer, go to a game, give a match card, was not match cards now. Hello, I'm whoever, I'm your referee, onto the field of play, do your pitch inspection. And right away, the two teams are actually forming a view about you as an individual in terms of how thorough, how professional you are. And I just wonder, as a result of a lot of that now not happening, has this, look, the issues are complex and multi-layered, and I just wondered, has this got an impact? For instance, I know that some teams, for example, are sort of communicating to me about, you know, pitches that might have a hole here, a hole there, and maybe are saying that they're dangerous. And I just wonder, you know, how do referees go about their pre-match now, and is it much different to what it was, for instance, 18 months or 2 years ago? I believe it is. And I believe that if we actually went back to a situation where we actually tried to impose a degree of authority as soon as we arrive at the ground, look, it's not going to be one thing will suit all, but I just think that it would possibly help, as opposed to the first time somebody knows effectively who you are is whenever you blow your whistle, potentially give a card, potentially give an informal warning. And I just wonder, is there a way to build up an empathy and a rapport in these very, very, very difficult times? Just some thoughts.
Yeah, it's interesting. Thank you, Trevor. We had a couple of messages in that actually do relate to what you're saying there about Howard, who says he's a coach, and basically goes on to say it's about building the relationships, providing explanations, and it's that conversation there about turning up at the ground, etc., and the relationships that you build over time. And then Scott said he thinks it can be broken down into a couple of categories: poor role models, behaviour and lack of challenge at the top level, lack of punishment when incidents are punished, and lack of support following incidents. But he does go on to say he doesn't believe COVID is to blame, because you wouldn't go out in the street and swear at the police regardless of COVID. You know, there's that, I suppose it comes down to that slight question around, well, yeah, why are people feel enabled to be abusive towards referees when in every other sort of walk of life that you know, they wouldn't do that to another professional, no matter what that role, whatever their role is or the context of the situation is.